We will be looking at the load balancers on Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. Especially when we are talking about the load balancers, there are many type of load balancers. We are going to cover the application load balancers today. Okay, so let's start with the AWS. So right now, as a prerequisite, I have one instance to just show you how to attach it in the background for the AWS. For the GCP, I even have the same setup, and for the Azure also the same. Okay, so right now let's start with the AWS, how to navigate to create a load balancer. For the other platforms like GCP and Google Cloud, if we search for the load balancer, usually it will pop up with the specific option itself. Here in the AWS, those load balancers features are being given like this. So you just have to search for the load balancer, option will pop up. Else you can either go to EC2 particular port. Okay, so if you're at the home screen, okay, and you're trying to search for the load balancer, always it will show you only EC2. Okay, so once you are going here, you just have to go to EC2 board, and then you have to go scroll down left side here, and you will be able to find the option. You have to click create load balancer. As we have discussed before, load balancer, that is application load balancer, network load balancer, and gateway load balancer are there. So what do you mean by that? Usually when application load balancer is being configured, it is for the HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, when the network load balancer is there, that is includes different ports also. For example, we will be having, other than HTTP, HTTPS, there will be specific ports, and there will be a different requirement to configure, such as TLS offloading at the scale performance, and then specific IP addresses with the UDP and TCP allowances will be there. Such things will be configured with the network load balancer. When it is coming to gateway load balancer, basically this has been chosen to deploy and manage the fleet of third-party virtual appliances, which is like third-party appliances or firewall or something like that. This particular gateway load balancer can be used. Okay, so we will look at the in-depth details of those types when we are looking at those concepts. First, let's create an application load balancer today. In this application load balancer, you just have to come here, load balancer, click on the application load balancer and create. Once you create it, you just have to give the name. I've given it as a ALB test. So there are two types of application load balancer which we can create. One is internal facing, another one is internet facing. Okay, so internet facing is like it is exposed to the internet. Internal in the sense it is within the VPC. Okay, and you can go with IPv4 or IPv6 also. IPv6 means you have to even select the dual stack, which includes the IPv4 and IPv6. If you want to only go with the IPv6, dual stack without IPv4. Okay, so you have to select that. Now coming to this particular option, VPC is there, right? So this is very important for us. Where your devices or the EC2 are being created, you have to select that particular VPC. Here in my case, this VPC is the one where all my resources are being deployed right now. Next thing is availability zone. When we are talking about the availability zone, specifically it asks where, on which zone you have to create. Okay, so the very important thing is each availability zone will have their respective subnet. Okay, so you can select all three of them. It depends on your resources. For example, virtual machine 1 is on the first availability zone, and second one is on the second one. So you can select those things. Right now I'm trying to particularly select all three zones because my resources are being distributed right now. Okay, next thing is security group. This security group, basically it controls your traffic inflow for this load balancer. So this is the default one which I'm selecting right now. You can even create a specific security groups and select it. Now coming to the listeners. What do you mean by listener? The listener is the front end where it allows the traffic inside your load balancer. Okay, so which type of a listener you want it? Okay, that is very important. Here I would like to go with only port 80. Next thing is either, for example, sometimes port 80 is not enough because your application is listening to the HTTPS. At that time you have to select HTTPS and you have to configure the port for that. Okay, and when you're trying to do that, it will ask extra options here. If you're able to see the security listener settings are there, where all the policies, it has its own configurations for the ALB. Okay, so you have to select that. Once you have been selected, you can see that there are two options in the security category: all security policies and FIPS. Basically it depends on your security level which you're going to select. Right now we are selecting on the all security policies, and we are using this particular ALB security policy. Each policy has its own particular SSL connection details with the security setups. To see those things, we will in depth look at these configurations in the future. Okay, so now we are just configuring the ALB security policy with the configuration of TLS 131 to 2021-06. Okay, and then here it is asking for a certificate. Okay, whether it is a SSL or TSL certificate. Either you can get it from the certificate manager. If you have already uploaded into the certificate manager, you can just do it, or you can get it from the IAM. And if you want to export that particular certificate, you can put the private key and certificate body here. Sometimes some of these certificates does have the chain, so you have to give those details here. Okay, so I don't want to go with this particular HTTPS configuration because I don't have a certificate right now. I would like to remove this. Okay, and there are few tags which you can enable it, and then you can get it done. Also, it is asking whether you want to enable a CloudFront or WAF to this particular load balancer. We don't want to go with that. Also, there is option to enable AWS web application firewall, that is WAF separately. That is also not required, and AWS global accelerator is also not required for us. We will look at all these things in the future for the advanced configuration when we are talking about the architecture details. Okay, right now as a summary, you will be able to see that what is your particular basic configuration, security group, and network mapping, and listener and routing configuration. So we have these things right now which we would like to go ahead and create the load balancer. Okay, so I have to select this target group. What do you mean by target group? This is the backend configuration. When you're trying to create a backend configuration, what does it mean? So when the traffic is trying to get inside the load balancer, where exactly it has to be distributed in the backend, right? So this particular distribution can be done with the target groups. So while you're creating a target group, you can go with the instances, you can go with the IP addresses or Lambda function or application load balancer. So here I have an instance right now for the configuration, or either you want to have a IP addresses also, you can just provide an IP address, specific IP address for that. So I don't want to go with that. I want to go with the instances and give a target name. Okay, test target group name. Okay, and which port you want to go with. Okay, you can go with HTTP, HTTPS, TCP, TLS, UDP, TCP, UDP, and Geneva. So basically this particular concept of a target group is common for all kind of a load balancers that we're gonna create. That's why it is asking which one you want to select. Right now we are going with the HTTP. We will select the HTTP. If you're going with the HTTPS, this will distribute the traffic in the backend for the sources with the port of 443. Right now let's select the HTTP. Okay, and this is important again, which VPC you want to select. Okay, and then the protocol version. So right now I want to go with the HTTP one. This is a versioning. HTTP versioning is that. So which one you would like to go with depends on your application preference. You can go. Right now for the testing purpose I would like to go with the HTTP one. Okay, and health check is it. This is very important. If your application path, where exactly application path is sitting, you have to provide that particular path. Else if your application is configured with the default path, the slash will be more than enough. So why it is important? When your application is configured on the different path other than the default one, at that time it will try to, this particular target group will try to check whether the traffics are going on the correct path, whether it is getting resolved or not. All those things will be checking. So it will throw you in health check error if the application is not being configured properly with the proper path here. So there is an advanced health check setup is there. Basically it will ask whether you want to go with the traffic port or override, and what is your threshold, what is your unhealthy threshold, okay, when it has to throw as unhealthy, and then what is the timeout that you want to keep, and then what are the interval as a check that you wanted to check on the particular backend checks. Okay, so if it is accepted, what is the code? So there is a different code that you can put it. Right now for the success code we will keep it as a 200, and we will try to give next. Okay. Oh, okay, so this has been already taken itself, so I'll give the different name and click next. Okay, now once the target group is being created, you have to register some of the backend servers. So as you can see, I have only one server. In the production environment there will be n number of servers. Okay, so you have to select the appropriate server from the list, and you have to register with the proper port. If you are trying to use the HTTPS, then the thing will go on HTTPS. For example, here 443 is there. Okay, now if you want to go with the 443 port distribution in the backend, you can just give that. Right now we are using only port 80. Okay, you have to, once you select, you have to add include as pending below. This is very important. Okay, if you are able to see your specific application server here, then only load balancing will work, else it won't work. Okay, once you create that, once you add those particular servers, whatever the application servers here, then you have to create a target group. Once you create it, you will be able to see healthy, unhealthy, and unused. All those things will be there. What is initialized, what is drained, and all those things. Since we are not being actively used the load balancers, or the traffic is being routed, we are yet to use this unused one. In a while it will become a healthy state virtual machine here. Okay, after that, basically when you are creating a target groups, this is all about how many VMs in the backend that you're going to connect, on what port you're going to connect. Okay, and whether it is healthy or not. All those things are important for us. Okay, so this is all about the target group. Since our target group is ready, we have to refresh here. Okay, we have to select this target group for the load balancer. Test one is a new one which we have created. We will select that, and we'll try to create a load balancer. Okay, so now when you are trying to, I don't want the HTTPS, but I tried the HTTPS. That's why it is trying to get the information on a specific ACM certificate. Okay, so it is trying to import an ACM certificate. That's why it is throwing an error. What at that time, what we have to do, we just have to go back. We have to fastly just give the details, whatever it is required. I'll click here, create load balancer. Now here I will click create. Okay, and I'll give the internet facing VPC with all availability zones. Okay, with the default security group, with the test one TGN for the target group selection, and then completely come down and create it. Okay, so it should be able to create a load balancer for you. Okay, once the load balancer has been created, so it will show you all the listener details. If you want to add one more listener, so as I told you, you have to go ahead and give those details here. So port 80 has been configured, and port 443 will be configured here. Okay, if you want to redirect forward, or you want to return the mixed response, what kind of a usage that you're going to use with this HTTPS. Okay, so I would like to transfer the particular traffic to the backend. So I would like to go ahead and use this particular target group if I am creating it. Okay, so what do you mean by redirect? So you can even redirect the traffic to the particular port with the URI or full URL. Okay, with that particular option, you will be able to even redirect your URLs with the coming traffic. Okay, so this is about the redirecting, and then even you can use both of them, what kind of response you wanted to have it. If you want to go with a particular context of JavaScript or a plain script or HTML, all those things, you can just give the response details, and you can select that certificate and create this HTTPS. Okay, so I don't want to do that right now. Okay, so my load balancer has been configured with the target group of test1 TGN with the port 80, and so it is in provisioning state right now. Okay, it will take a while to create it, and this is how we're gonna create a load balancer, application load balancer in the particular AWS.